Grenade by Alan Gratz, Part 2, pages 150 through 154. One Way Out. Hideki was so thirsty he tried to catch rainwater in his mouth, but it wasn't enough. He searched until he found a rivulet of running water in the darkness. The water was muddy and foul, and who knew where it came from and what was in it, but Hideki drank it anyway. He didn't know how far he'd wandered or how long. All he knew was that his head was still pounding, his stomach still growled, and Shuri Castle still stood. Someone splashed through the muck nearby, and Hideki reached for his last grenade. The person was bent over and carried something big and round on his back. Was it another American soldier? No, he was too small for that. The shadowy figure drew closer, and Hideki saw it was an older Okinawan boy. On his back, he carried a small wooden barrel. The boy saw Hideki at almost the same moment, and he cried out in surprise, falling backward onto the barrel. "I'm sorry," Hideki said. "I'm sorry. I'm Okinawan too. I didn't mean to scare you." "Hideki?" the other boy asked. Hideki was startled. Was this somebody he knew? "Hideki, it's Yoshio," the boy said. Hideki reeled. Yoshio? Yoshio was only a year older than him, but this boy looked like he was 10 years older. Yoshio's face was hollow and thin, with deep bags of sleeplessness under his eyes. Yoshio had changed so much in just a few weeks. With a sudden jolt, Hideki wondered if he had too. Yoshio splashed across the water toward him. Hideki flinched, expecting a punch, but Yoshio threw his arms around Hideki instead. Yoshio was hugging him? Hideki stood rigid, expecting a trick, but Yoshio just clapped him on the shoulders. "Hideki, it's so good to see you. I thought you died when we attacked the Americans." I thought you were dead too," Hideki said. Yoshio smiled like they were the best of friends, like Yoshio hadn't tormented him constantly for the past 4 years. What was going on here? "What are you doing with that barrel?" Hideki asked him. "Getting water for my family. Hideki, I found my mother and sister. Can you believe it?" It was incredible, yes, but Hideki had found his own father too. It was a small island, after all, but the mention of Yoshio's mother and sister made Hideki's heart ache for his dead mother and brother. For a moment, he was lost in a vision of them in the dark, treading water, trying not to slip under the waves, until Yoshio's voice brought him back to the present. "We're hiding in a cave nearby. Do you need a dry place to sleep?" Yoshio asked. "Help me fill this barrel and I'll take you back there." Hideki was still wary of Yoshio's friendliness, but he helped the boy lug the water barrel back to the cave where his family was hiding. He and Yoshio were met at the entrance by an Okinawan woman and a little girl, Yoshio's mother and sister, and an elderly man and woman who helped them haul the barrel inside. There were more Okinawans deeper inside the cave, too. From the reek of human excrement and sweat, Hideki guessed that most of them hadn't left the cave since the battle began. Even so, Hideki was relieved to finally be out of the rain and among his own people. But as his eyes adjusted to the darkness of the cave, he saw something that turned his empty stomach. There was a Japanese soldier here, too. Hideki took a step back toward the entrance of the cave, but Yoshio was too fast for him. "This is my friend Hideki, from school," Yoshio told everyone. He put an arm around Hideki and gave him a playful squeeze. Friend? Since when were they friends? "I was just helping Yoshio bring the barrel back," Hideki explained. He backed away from Yoshio. "I won't take up any of your space." "No!" the Japanese soldier cried. He ran to block Hideki's way out of the cave. "You can't go! It's not safe! There are Americans everywhere!" There was a nervous twitch in his cheek, and his hands shook like he was freezing. He peered nervously through the cave's small entrance. "Did anyone follow you back?" he demanded, his eyes big. "No," Hideki said. He was tired, so very, very tired. And now he had another unhinged Japanese soldier to deal with. One had tried to force him out to fight against the Americans, and this one wouldn't let him leave. Hideki put his head in his hands. All he wanted was to lie down, close his eyes, escape the constant pulsing in his ears. I don't understand," Yoshio whispered to Hideki. "Private Mayday wasn't like this yesterday." Yesterday they probably had more food, Hideki thought. Weeks inside this stinking cave with bombs falling outside and dwindling food and water had driven Private Medea close to his breaking point. Before the Americans had invaded, Hideki had known the Japanese soldiers to be demanding taskmasters, but they had never been crazy. Not like this. The war had changed Yoshio somehow for the better, and it had changed soldiers like Private Medea for the worse. Hideki watched Private Medea eye the door wearily, and wondered how long it would be until the soldier turned that suspicious look on the Okinawans. Hideki fought the fog in his head and scanned the cave, looking for any other way out, but the only one he could see was through the front entrance, past Private Medea. Would Medea shoot him if he tried to leave? Was there any way he could slip past him? The water barrel. Private Medea had sent Yoshio out tonight to refill the water barrel, and he would send some other expendable Okinawan out to refill it tomorrow. That was how Hideki would get out. The next time they needed a water boy, he would volunteer to go, and he would never come back.